Pulling from the vault of the Jess plus Scott plus You show, we are going to share a program that is relevant today. And I'll tell you why it's relevant today. It's relevant today, one, because some things never change. We go through time, technology, ideas, news, people come and go and influence us or don't influence us. Yet there's this piece of us, this light inside of us. And when we take a step back and we think about the value that we bring, the values that we have, and we choose through our actions to display to the world, we get to really examine and recognize and honor the light that is in us. So before you enjoy this program, I want to share with you some background. There's a quote that inspired this show. There are two ways of spreading the light: to be the candle or the mirror that reflects it. That quote is by Edith Wharton. And we explore in this program what it means to us as we're having this conversation. Debra Oakland, who has also been on the Voice of Old Business Radio before as one of our guests in this iteration of our program, talks about the courage that it takes to recognize our inner light and to use it to positively impact our world. Enjoy this program.
Welcome to the Voice of Bold Business, the show that provides everything smart leaders need to evaluate situations, build relationships, and create solutions. Jessica Dewell candidly talks about the skills necessary to build tenacity and do more with less. And now, here's Jessica.
Scott, how are you tonight?
Oh, I'm doing really, really well, and this is a show that I have been looking forward to since I first got to know Debra Oakland. She just has a message that resonates with anyone who has even given the slightest thought about courage in life. How about yourself, Jess?
Talk about serendipity. Look what I got in the mail today. I don't know if you can read that. It says, "Take what you need." And it's a little wooden box with that engraving on the top, and you open it up, and inside are these little coins. And they say things like love, or confidence, or inspiration. And I bought a whole bunch of them, and I have them on my desk, so when I need one, I can take one. When somebody's over and we're experiencing something, or there's some sort of an obstacle, they're going to get to take one too, and we're going to see what that turns into in terms of putting a new light on things. And that's kind of how I feel about our conversation tonight with Deb. When we think about living in courage and we think about what it means to show up and to be present, and each one of those take what you need is a decision. So with that in mind, welcome Deb Oakland.
So thank you, and it's really interesting that you brought your coins out because I have this.
I can't read the words. What's it say?
Courage.
Oh, it says,
Courage.
thank you,
Courage.
On the back it says, "I'm not afraid, I was born to do this." I told the jeweler, that my friend who made this, that I'm going to wear this whenever I speak about courage.
You know, it's how you focus your mind, and there's no better way than to do something like that. You create a space, and then you're able to walk into it.
Speaking of courage, and speaking of being here and making the decision to live in it, and now is the time. I'm so excited because everybody, you know what Deb said she would do for us? She said that when she came on our show today to talk about this, that we would be able to receive the gift of a reading from her book. So Deb, tell us a little bit about your book.
We all love the movies. Everybody loves the movies. And we take away these incredible gems with us, and they make us feel things deeply. They touch our emotions. And our life is a movie. It's an actual movie we're living in, and we're the writer, the director, the producer, we're the filmmaker, we're all of it. So the book is all in relation to the movies and how we live our life around these 7 concepts. And the first part is about decision, what you were thinking about. And as we were talking, we're like, wow, this really plays into our discussion. And then you asked me if I'd read a little section from the book. In the book, there are also 7 treatments, which are like scripts, but before they would actually be put into a script if you were in a play or a movie. But I've written these 7 different scripts as well to go with the 7 concepts in the book. Great foundations to live your life by. Because of all the loss that I went through, I sat and I started thinking about what really pulled me through it as well as it did. And these are the 7 concepts that I'm sharing with people so that they can build a strong foundation, and it may help them recover from loss and grief and just to make their lives joyful.
All right, Debra, we are ready. Will you read to us?
Okay, sit back, relax. Do you have some popcorn? Okay, here we go. This is called Real, R-E-E-L, Life Decisions equals Creations. This little section I'm going to read to you. How content would you be if you were living a non-creative life? Creating is what we are here to do. Sharing our creations with others brings us fulfillment and happiness. Just think back to how great you felt the last time you accomplished something or created something. Maybe it was when you were a child, but you need to reclaim that feeling. You know how children feel. Oh, it's incredible. So maybe you can savor this, wrap yourself in it, embrace it. Choose to make the attainment of that feeling of accomplishment the focal point of your life's mission. When one accomplishment is completed, anticipate how good it's going to feel to achieve another creative endeavor. What great movie producer or director stops at one movie? As we make a conscious decision to do a thing, we feel fired up and excited. We learn to begin with the end in mind. Like any successful director, focus like a laser beam on one thing you desire to accomplish in your movie. This lowers the idea into your consciousness until you can see it, feel it, smell it, and taste it. Our senses are there to support and guide us. Learning to use and trust them creates an open door to our success. To expand mentally, physically, and spiritually, it's important that our creations are a blessing in and to all life. This is where we benefit from developing the proper soul orientation and self-control. It allows us to keep in mind that harmlessness is always a good objective. Rejecting negative outer influences that you've carried around most of your life is like a breath of fresh air. As a filmmaker using single-minded focus, imagination, and determination, you will be able to star in and produce the most amazing movie you can dream up. Be willing to do whatever it takes to succeed in all you wish to accomplish, never giving up, because you deserve to live in the movie of your dreams. Take full responsibility for your life, and your life will reward you with even greater accomplishments. Preceding any accomplishment comes the desire and the decision to do. Engaging the mind and heart in all we wish to experience brings harmonious, balanced activity into the film we desire to develop, helping release limitation. Once one creative accomplishment is under our belt, it's easier to move on to another and another. And before long, you will be eager to pay it forward by sharing your film about the power of decision with those who notice your enthusiastic attitude in all you do. There's a magnetic power in decision that connects to our heart, which loves to bring us what we desire. By moving past limitation and being courageously inspired by an unlimited attitude and feelings, what we decide to do, to be, we will be. Our world is a creation. We are here to create our own worlds within the world, many smaller movies within the bigger moving picture of life. The proof of human accomplishment is visible everywhere. Whatever the heart believes, the mind conceives. None of us see the world in exactly the same way, yet we all create in unique ways that are of value and can be shared with others. If we all sang the same note, there would be no music. If we only knew one word, there would be no language. If there was only one color in nature, it would be devoid of contrast. If one can do it, anyone can. You and I have the ability to tap into our greatness, to define our individuality and unique gift of the soul. It is our responsibility.
You were reading, and I'm like, yeah, and I'm dancing, and this, oh yeah.
And that's some of the mellower part of the book.
Well, that is so condensed that I invite the viewers to return after the show to watch that one segment over again, because you obviously spent a lot of time thinking about it, and you took something that was humongous and compacted it down into those many words. And that's going to be the topic for the rest of the show, right, Jess?
It is, and we're going to go back to decide. One of the things that was at the beginning of what you said, before we even heard the word decision, when you were describing this, was anticipate the next great thing.
Yes.
Now, that's something that I think is counterintuitive to a lot of us, because we're taught how to plan, and we're taught how to know each milestone, and if we can't find those milestones, we got to do whatever it takes to get to that milestone, when it might not have been the right milestone to begin with. So milestones are good, but at what point do we realize that we know that the next big thing is coming, and just because we can imagine it doesn't mean that's the way it's going to turn out. But we know it's going to be positive, and we know it's going to be impactful. And even as we're passing it by, we could go, oh, there it went. How cool. What's next?
The key word you said is we know. You know, if you think maybe it could happen, there's no maybe. You decide what's going to happen and you create it. But it's very important to stick to one creation at a time, where your attention can be fully placed on that particular thing that you wish to manifest. And then you can go on to another and another. Some people start out with parking spaces. Yay, parking angel. Thank you for my parking spot. Come on, come on. You know, you start with a little thing, and then they can move on to something bigger. Some people just start out with something huge, and it works. Whatever doesn't intimidate you too much, but really stick with it, because that power of decision is everything.
And what you're talking about is manifestation, whether it's law of attraction or affirmation. They all have a place, and we could do them all, but we also only have to do one, or even part of one, or our own variation and creation of something that gives us that power to take. What it comes down to is action, is what I hear you saying. We can plan to do all of these things, but until we act, we're not actually choosing to move forward.
It's like a child creating an imagination. Our imagination is so important. Your imagination feeds your feelings, and then your feelings turn into your actions, and then keeping your attention and your focus. Focus is so important on those things, and really knowing it's going to manifest perfectly, but allowing the unseen and the seen forces in the world to go to work for you, and trust that it's all in perfect order. It may not be the time that you expect it to be, but it will be exactly when your soul knows it needs to be delivered to you. And all through the book, I've taken all these big ideas and had to make it rather content rich, put them into small areas all through the book. So it's, I mean, I had a few people review it, and they said, there's so much in there. Maybe you could write it one section and hold the whole book. And I said, no, this all has to be there. It has to. It's what came to me, and I'm the messenger.
You're walking your own talk. It's one item at a time. You're not throwing things out. You're saying, let's focus on this, and then the next, and the following. I wrote down a question that I'm going to ask right now. How in charge are we in terms of our own destiny?
As much in charge as we decide we will be. Again, you're back to the power of decision, and it's your life, it's your destiny. You get to choose exactly how things turn out, and there's things in our life that turn out unexpected, or things that we don't want to happen, but we have to understand, whether we understand it or not on a human level, there's a different plan for it on a soul level. And those things that aren't so wonderful that happen to us, we have to say thank you for the lesson, and thank you for the experience of whatever we experienced with whatever it was, a business, a person, a family member, a pet. Appreciate every moment that we had or happened, and say thank you for the lesson. And I don't understand it, I don't have to, but I know it's okay.
There's a difference between trusting what is happening is the right thing and letting things happen to us. We can trust in the process, but if we don't take an active role, we actually are letting things happen to us. And sure, it's going to be in that moment because we've made the decision to let it happen to us instead of actively stand up and say, okay, I'm here. This is the path I'm on. Here's what's going on. And I may not know where to go, but I'm here. Versus sitting back and going, maybe it'll pass.
No, you have to take an active role in this creation.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to sit there and say, this is what I desire, this is what I want, this is the outcome that I want. If it morphs into something else, I'm open to that.
And openness is good.
Open.
Yeah.
You have to stay open,
Mm-hmm.
because maybe there's something better coming to you that you can't see. And it wants to get there. And when I find things are very difficult, I move out of the way. If it's easy, it's like my soul saying, yep, you're in the right direction, keep on moving. And if the obstacles are just too big, for me personally, it's not worth my time and effort. I know that I'm supposed to be going in another direction or taking a left or a right at that road where it's crossing, and I have to trust that I am connected enough with myself and my soul and my spirituality, my meditations, and everything that I do, that I know which way to go. Am I going to turn right or am I going to turn left?
It sounds to me as if it's not as if we live in a world where there's a choice of decisions or an absence of decisions.
The blame game's over. There's no time for that anymore.
You're still making your destiny. It's just that in that case, the destiny that you have made is the fruits of the blame game, as you put it.
Your subconscious, it says yes to you, whatever you say. You say, I am healthy, I am joyful, I'm abundant. And I use abundance instead of money because it's all inclusive. Abundant. Yes, yes, yes. People say they're fat, they're ugly, they're broke, they're blah, blah, blah. Yep, okay, that's what you get. That's what you want. That's what you're going to be brought.
You used the phrase soul orientation. Could you elaborate on that, please, Debra?
It's who we are. This soul is this expansive part of ourselves that is always there, here, there, everywhere. Whether we're in this physical garment, our soul remains. And it's this magical space that we get to interact with and to align our orientation of our life desires and wishes with. It's so beautiful. Your soul is just magnificent, and you can either align with it or you can misalign with it. And you can have an easier life, you can have a joyful life, you can move forward in peace and harmony, or you can decide to not be in alignment, not connect with the soul on that kind of alignment and that level. It's like, okay, well, I'll wait over here while you're busy being miserable.
Yeah, if I were to say that in a different way, when we show up in life, we're either showing up and it's draining and we're giving away energy, or we're like maintaining the status quo. We're not giving anything away, but we're not receiving anything either. Mm-hmm. And then there's this idea of being open and receptive to where it's easy and everything makes sense and you know that it's worth your time, and there's actually reinforcement in each of those areas. We have to learn for ourselves and for our own environment and how our inner critic and our heart and head work to figure out what those are. From your experience and the things that you encountered while you were putting together the ideas for each of the concepts in your book, when we think about decision, what can a starting point be to go from a draining place or a status quo place to a place of richness, a place of abundance?
Like if you see someone that's not happy, they're just not happy, they don't want to see you happy. It really irritates them. You can't just say to somebody, be happy, and they're going to be happy. It doesn't work that way. They have to start with the decision that maybe they'll take a little baby step. And every day, they'll do one thing that they enjoy in their life. A lot of people don't have things they even do in their day that they enjoy. Maybe one thing that they do that makes them happy. And that builds momentum. Or sitting and thinking, I always tell people, if you want to change the way you're thinking and you feel kind of down, a good decision to make is say, I choose peace. I choose peace. Just chant it. Especially if someone's around you that's not happy and is saying something negative, then you can just, while they're talking, blah, 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 you can just, I choose peace, I choose peace, I choose peace. And it changes the energy even. Sometimes they'll just go away because they're not feeling you.
Cool. when you were talking about, the people who aren't happy, I know a lot of people who they get to the end of the day and they go, well, I never got to such and such. And then they get to the next day and I never got to such and such. Well, that requires a priority change. Why not get some gold stars? Why not make yourself a little chart and every single day put that first and give yourself a gold star? Sounds silly and it sounds novel, but it might just be what we need.
We need to reward ourselves.
Yeah.
We deserve to reward ourselves.
We do.
Everything that we accomplish.
Also, some of it would be is we don't typically reward ourselves with stars or stickers. We reward ourselves in something that is kind of an indulgence, right? An extra piece of chocolate or a piece of food or that kind of thing. It might work for you, but it also might not work for you. Me, it's going to be stars over food any day. Food is a dangerous game.
But look at children. When they're little, their imaginations, imagine the movies that they can put together and the things that they come up with and they think of. I mean, they're so outside the box. And they say, like that TV show, kids say the darndest things. The things that they say, they're just constantly, their brains are going. And we quit doing that. We get so busy with life and so many things going on. We're trying to make a living, or we're in school and we're trying to learn, or being certain things being programmed into us that will really change the course of our life, unfortunately. So when we're older, we can say, wait a minute, now I get to decide how my life is going to go. This is my life. I get to choose, and I am responsible for my life, and I can't blame anybody for what's happening to me, but I can take responsibility and say, okay, let's make things happen. And you can just start my whole book's about all of this.
I was amused when you talked about choose peace, choose peace, choose peace, and you were talking about kids and their imagination. I can remember growing up, and there was a cartoon character, I think his name was Sad Charlie or something like that, and the cartoon, he always had a cloud over him, and he would say, oh dear, dearie me, oh dear. And one day I scared myself because I thought, what would happen if I did that? And so I went around for, I don't know how long, probably it's 10 or 15 minutes, but it feels like a half a day. And I felt so terrible at the end of just saying, oh dear me, oh dear, in a forlorn voice, that I shook myself. At that time I thought, man, that's really powerful. And I challenge anyone listening, if you really want to test the theory, just go around for a half a day with as many negative statements and affirmations as you possibly can, and you too probably would be scared.
The thing that's really interesting to me that I catch more now is when I say something contradictory or when I receive something that's contradictory. I get told I'm obnoxiously smart, or I am dangerously thoughtful, or something goofy, and I say goofy, and I'm using that because somebody is using that as a term of endearment, but I have actually moved into this place where I consider that really limiting, and I actually have to take a minute and go, get rid of the first word and hear the second word and repeat that in my head a few times to get the true meaning of what they're saying, because they're saying it with the greatest love, and I can't receive that from them in its true form because it's not true for me.
And words are powerful. And our brains all function slightly differently, and we perceive things differently.
Yeah, we have to show up for each other too, and we have to go, oh, that was love, so I'm going to receive that as love.
So this is a good segue into something I really wanted to ask you tonight, Debra, and that is, you talk about listening to your inner voice, and we all recognize how important that is, but what about other voices? What about the parent to the child, spouse to spouse, spiritual guides, business coaches, mentors? Where do other voices come in?
If you are working with a coach or a spiritual mentor of any kind, if they're really, really powerful and good at what they do, they will guide you back to you, to the answers that are inside of you, and teach you to listen to those answers and to find those things that you need within yourself, to live from the inside out versus the outside in. Yes, you may need them to get to that point, but a good mentor, a good coach, a good parent, you will lead people back to self, back to the inner power that sometimes we give away, that love, wisdom, and power that we are, that comes in through and out from us. And to be able to connect with that is one of the most powerful things that you can ever experience, because then you can create everything from the inner spaces and places that we are meant to create from in a powerful way. not in a flighty kind of a way.
I'm reminded of Hildy, who is Alan Cohen's spiritual leader, who once said, a spiritual path will bless you twice, once when you step on it, and then a second time once you step off of it, because you no longer need it. And that sounds a little bit like what you've just been talking about.
Mm-hmm. I like Alan Cohen's work. Yes, he's great. I've met him a few times. It's in here. Everything we need is right here. And we can get to a point in our life when we don't have to go out there for what we need. It's here. Most people aren't at that point. That's a powerful point to be at.
Is this true in all cultures, or is it that there are certain cultures or certain countries or certain periods of time where people are more attuned to themselves and, other times? How does that play out? Or have you even thought of it in those terms?
I think it's an individual thing because, look at all the different cultures and the countries all over the world. If you look at the world, really, is it any better than it was in the 1500s, 1600s, 1700s? There's certain aspects of it that have not improved. There are people that just don't wake up, and they're still judging and blaming and using religion and war and all these things to make everything okay that they do. If you're out there talking about love, love does not do certain things. Divine love and light, unconditional love, there's certain things that does not associate with.
Tell us, Deb, in your book you've got these movie treatments. Tell us a little bit about the additive value, and do you have one that you could share with us tonight?
I want people to really get what we were just talking about, how you walked around saying that negative thing and it felt like a half a day. It just feels horrible, that negative feeling, and some people are just used to that. They don't even know what it feels like to feel good. So I wanted to add scripts, one that has a positive outcome and one that does not. So you can see the difference and how that makes you feel when you read it, because these are about people and different situations in their life, and they're all made up, except this first one on the power of decision is my own true story. So I'll redo that one. Is that okay?
Yeah.
This is Reel, R-E-E-L 1. My husband Cody answered a call from the hospital at 5 o'clock on a Sunday morning. News a mother never expects to hear. There had been a car accident. My son had died. First, disbelief. This can't be happening. You never expect to lose a child before your own life is complete. Please, God, make this go away. Shock sets in. Indescribable pain permeates my entire being. I had been through so much loss already. Now I have just lost my only child and am heartbroken. In a state of shock, feeling disconnected and out of body, I have to decide how to begin handling this news. Family is calling. People are trying to connect out of concern and love. I want to sit and be still. No, that doesn't feel good. I need to get up and move around. Go somewhere. No, that doesn't work either. What to do, where to go, how to function. Cody's my rock, but he's in shock as well. How do we get through this loss? How do I comfort us both? I can't, not now. Depression sets in. Unable to function on any level, the days drag on to become months, weeks, months, and years. Life has lost its luster. There seems to be no hope of feeling normal again. Tears flow endlessly. Guilt, self-pity, and hopelessness become close friends. My marriage is lifeless, and I see no hope of it changing. My greatest fear is to be hurt again by loving so deeply. Cody can no longer live in this sad and broken marriage. As he takes his leave, he is wishing it would have all turned out differently. It could have all turned out so differently. I'm happy to say it did. Read on. And I began the story again. And as I go through shock, and I want to sit, be still, Cody's my rock. He's in shock as well. How do we get through this? We comfort each other as we talk about how to get through this loss. I ask myself an important question. What would my son, who loves me as I love him, what would he want most for me? I say to my husband, knowing the love we all carry for each other is on a deep soul level, the only answer is that he would want us to live a happy life, celebrating his life as a gift grateful for the time we had together. I defined my life by handling this loss with courage, strength, and peace. My marriage to Cody grows stronger, and we become more resilient together. I realized there is a different way of responding to hardships, and that we can change our perspective from within. Both Cody and I rely on a strong foundation of inner power that houses our courage and strength. Knowing this is the way to celebrate and honor my son's life. We carry him in our hearts as a precious gift. I embrace life with peace, gratitude, and compassion, now going out into the world, silver lining, helping others through the process of loss and grief.
So, Deborah, what is the imperative of your life?
The imperative?
Mm-hmm.
To live in joy, living from the inside out, and helping others, sharing what I've learned and the foundations that have kept me strong that may serve someone else, and just to be the best me I can be and share that with the world.
And this is born of the grief that you've felt and the loss that you've suffered, and you've turned that into something that is shining so brighter than it could have otherwise.
Yes.
Yes.
And I would never have done this. None of this would have happened if I hadn't gone through those 6 years losing all my family members, my immediate family members like that, and both my children. I wouldn't have had the nerve to do this. I've got nothing to lose. I'm not a trained writer. I don't care. I'm just going to start writing about courage, living in courage, and what'll happen, what'll come out of it, I don't know, but I have to do this. I have to. I can't stop myself.
Jess?
From a totally different perspective, I really am honored because it takes what we learn and how we choose to receive it and what we decide, going back to the decision, what we decide to do for ourselves. One of the things I really love is your willingness to share, Deb. Another thing that I really love is that you're setting an example that we can all follow. Life is not easy, and it doesn't matter who we are. Life is not easy. Now, there's a place of joy and ease of moving through things that is different than an easy life, I would say. And I know we didn't get a chance to talk about that. We may have to have you come back to just talk about that, because I think we could have an entire show about that. What you are doing with livingencourageonline.com is amazing. The things that you share and write, the things that your guest bloggers share and write, I learn something new with every post that you share. And so it's great to see where this is going and what you are doing. And tell us, besides livingencourageonline.com, where else can we connect with you?
Oh, I'm all over social media. I'm on Google+, I'm on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, About Me, you name it. I'm all over the place. And on my website, I have my monthly newsletter that you can sign up for, and I have a guest blogger come on each month, and it's really exciting to get to know all these wonderful people you've been on as a guest and written article, and I love sharing that space with other people.
Thank you again, Deb, for joining us. Scott, what an amazing conversation. This 45 minutes went by really fast, and I think it gives us a lot to talk about, because when we think about that quote, and I'm going to go back to it here so that we've got it, there are two ways of spreading the light, to be the candle or the mirror that reflects it. And Edith Wharton is the one who said that. And here's what I wrote down based off of our conversation. We are all connected. And in that connection, in that energetic connection that we have, supersedes what makes up our brain, how our brain keeps our bodies alive, and really allows us to connect through our heart and through our actions beyond this. So if I were to say, what does that quote that we started with for the decision to be the light that you already are, and the quote from Edith Wharton, I would say, let's protect our light. Let's spread our light. And then let's make sure and reflect the light that we see in others, because we can be the candle and we can be the mirror. Maybe not at the same time when we're focusing on one thing at a time. At the end of the day, we can be both, each in its own time and each in its own path.
You've listened, rate this program. You've listened, subscribe to this program. You've listened, you know somebody who can use the information inside this program. Send it to them. Subscribe. Tell us what you think on social media by subscribing to our YouTube channel, by making sure to subscribe on your preferred listening platform where podcasts and radio programs may be sold. You decide what it takes to be a leader today. You decide through your actions what you value, and you decide through how you communicate and how you act as a perceptor of information, how others will perceive your actual intent. And it's up to you to make sure it's right. So as a leader, to be more effective, embrace the value within who you are, what you're trying to do, and share it with us, because it's each of us through our individual experiences and talking about those experiences that define what it means to be an effective leader today.
Subscribe at thevoiceofboldbusiness.com and get more information, program notes, and past episodes. Bold leaders approach each situation and focus on action to achieve a higher level of leadership. Jessica Dewell, your business advocate, is the host of the Voice of Bold Business Radio. Thank you for joining us.